Welcome back to the program. This is the Monday line. Bye-bye, Bennie. Could the California cover-up bring real change to the Catholic Church? Now, Pope Benedict XVI is gone in 10 days. Many inside and outside the Church are saying, don't let the door hit you on the way out. This papacy, controversial from his initial selection to replace John Paul II, was hit with damning revelations of a child sexual abuse cover-up that reached all the way up to Los Angeles' Cardinal Mahony. It was alleged in numerous court documents that Mahony deliberately sought to evade the law by sending sex-offending priests to treatment facilities in states outside of California who specifically did not require health professionals to report these crimes to authorities. So the question remains, if the child sex abuse scandal reached all the way to a cardinal, one of 117 or so global leaders of the Church who could that trail also reach Pope Benedict? Well, it's not that far of a stretch, since as Cardinal Ratzinger of Germany, Pope Benedict was the Church's leading authority handling the controversy. Add in reports of Cardinal Mahony in Los Angeles paying off $660 million of sex abuse, child sex abuse settlements with monies from church cemetery funds. Now, this is a practice that would be illegal for all but religious cemeteries. One can see how truly despicable a crime and cover-up this all is. Mary Dispenza is a woman who received a sex abuse settlement back in 2006, and she said it best. I think it's very deceptive, and in a way they took it from people who had no voice, the dead. They can't react, they can't respond. Now, Benedict did not help himself while leading the Church. A hard right conservative, he lashed out at homosexuality and the use of any and all birth control measures, including condoms and the pill. But no stain is as deep as his 2 decades as Pope John Paul II's point man on growing allegations of sex abuse of young boys over the last 4 decades. What started as whispers has led to criminal arrests, prosecutions, and the jailing of a dozen or so prominent pedophile priests and archbishops around the globe, with more to come. And yet, aside from a few papal pronouncements saying that this behavior would not be tolerated, Rome, as they did during the Vatican bank crisis of the 1980s, has been largely silent on the issue. They simply chose well-timed cosmetic fixes, institutional silence, and quiet payoffs versus real resolution. And the Pope responsible for the investigation could now stand accused of covering it up? So when the water in the pot reached the boiling point, it looked to the world as if he either bailed or was pushed to protect himself and the Church from prosecution. None of this is a terribly far stretch of the imagination. And now, by remaining secluded and cloistered the rest of his life, Pope Benedict prevents his own prosecution for crimes related to the Church's sex abuse scandal. But the Vatican, as even a state, owes thanks to Mussolini granting it in exchange for them not raising the atrocities of Italians and Germans during World War II. Somehow this all seems standard operating procedure for this Church, and yet is so very, very wrong. So Benedict leaves the papacy on the 28th of February. He'll reside in seclusion in Castel Gandolfo, the Pope's traditional summer residence, until a special cloistered monastery can be constructed inside the Vatican, and there he will reside unseen by the public until his eventual death. Now, somehow Benedict should not be allowed to just ride off into the sunset this way. Even if he does remain essentially a prisoner inside Vatican City, it does not seem right if he was indeed responsible for enabling this cover-up. Now, the cardinals will meet in mid-March to elect a new pontiff, and even the global odds-fixing gambling website Paddy Power has set boxing or election-style betting lines. From their website it says, "With Pope Benedict taking early retirement at 85, the world is watching to see who will be the next pontiff, and Paddy's all over it. The world's favorite bookmaker has a direct line to the Vatican through the Rome office and has priced up the likely runners and riders for the Catholic Church's top job. Now, the last 2 men to get the keys to the Pope mobile were Polish and Germans, but an African or South American Pope has been hotly tipped and is 2-1 and 10-3 in country of next Pope betting. Ghana's Cardinal Peter Turkson has attracted the early money at 3-1, as has Nigeria's Cardinal Francis Arinze at 9-2, while Argentina's Cardinal Leonardo Sandre is 6-1, and Cardinal Oscar Rodriguez Maradiaga from Honduras is 7-1. Could we see the Vatican recognize the growth in Catholicism on both continents? So the absence of official pronouncements, the Vatican is losing the global PR battle, and the whispers grow. The Vatican is a plodding, slow-moving organization, so secretive and set in its ways that even though a pope has not resigned since 1415, we're to believe they had a rigid, disciplined policy already in place for handling this? And the secrecy is not helping as the rest of the world busily connects the dots and asks why. It certainly does not help that the entire child sex abuse scandal was handled by a branch inside the Catholic Church better known for hundreds of years as, wait for it, the Inquisition? And we all know how well that worked for them in the 13th century. So what was the tipping point for Benedict? Why would he decide to suddenly become the first pope in 6 centuries to resign? Well, Vatican sources conveniently let it slip that he fell in his hotel room and banged his head during a recent trip to Mexico City. Was he concussed? Is he suffering from other neurological diseases? I mean, at 85, he's certainly visibly less vibrant and healthy than he was when he assumed the chair of St. Peter less than a decade ago. But no pope since Gregory XII in 1415 has ever resigned. He claims infirmity, but yet his idol, John Paul II, wanted the world to see the pope's life decline so they could understand that death was a part of life. So why would he quit now, just 10 days before the biggest celebration of the church, that being Easter? Now, as a victim myself of abuse by a member of the clergy of another denomination in the 1970s, I want answers for the thousands of young boys and girls now in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, trying to come to grips with a pedophile past. For all of their sakes, it's time to open the doors of the Inquisition and connect all of the dots, rather than let this be just another hidden scandal in an otherwise secretive and scandal-ridden church. Coming up next, the Reverend Dr. Britt Minshall joins us to discuss this in more detail. You're watching Worldview with Denis Campbell.